You're listening to the Journey podcast. Can recovering self-worth be a catalyst for personal growth after betrayal? Listen to today's episode to learn about the emotional process of rebuilding your sense of self and discover strategies for embracing your worth. This episode contains strong language and listener discretion is advised. Hi, I'm Petra Brunbauer, and with decades of experience with sadness, pain, anxiety, and stress, I finally figured out how to leave all that behind. And this podcast shows you how to break free permanently so you can reclaim your sanity and find the self-esteem and energy to go after the life you desire. With real talk about mental health, holistic healing, and the tough journey of coming out the other end. This is the Journey Podcast. Welcome to today's episode. In this episode, we embark on a journey of self-discovery as we delve into the intricate process of recovering self-worth after betrayal. Our conversation centers around the profound challenges that can arise when trust is broken and the journey towards rebuilding one's sense of self-worth and inner strength. Our guest shares her insightful perspectives on the complexities of this journey, shedding light on the emotional and psychological impact of betrayal. We discuss practical strategies for navigating the path to healing, exploring self-compassion, therapy, and self-care as essential components in the recovery process, ultimately finding a renewed sense of empowerment, resilience, and self-love. Janice Holland is a licensed professional therapist and a certified trauma model therapist. She's the founder of The Courageous Woman and has helped hundreds of women overcome the trauma of their past and move on to reinvent themselves, creating the life of their dreams. As a survivor of trauma, toxic patterns, and narcissistic abuse, she knows how hard it is to find quality help that actually moves the needle forward in your growth. She spent years and thousands of dollars in therapy, programs, school, with gurus, all the things, you name it, she tried it. Most experiences left her disappointed, overwhelmed, and stuck. This Courageous Woman 90-day transformation and membership is a culmination of all she has learned that does work in healing your heart, bringing you home to your body, and allowing you to live as the woman you were created to be. Let's meet Janice Holland. Hi, Janice. It's so great to have you on the podcast today. I have been looking forward to getting to chat with you because recovering your self-worth after betrayal is such an important part of holistic healing. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And do you want to share a little bit about yourself and how you got into this work that you do today?
Sure. I have always known that I wanted to be in a helping profession for a while. I thought maybe child psychologist. The culture I grew up in was really conservative, and really the only options for women that I was exposed to was like being a mom and being a teacher. I ended up going initially to school to be a teacher. So I did that for a while, but then as I was teaching, I noticed the school counselor and I kept just being drawn to the work that she was doing. And as I'm teaching kids, like reading and writing and all these basic, I was like, I don't really care if they can read or write. I really want to help them develop their sense of self. And so then I went back to school and got my degree in psychology so that I could be a school counselor. And then that evolved into me opening a private practice. And as I matured and got older and had kids, there was so much of my own past, my own childhood that was full of trauma that honestly, some of it I didn't remember, some of it I gained some memory of as I had kids. And just the older I got and the more I dove into the healing journey, I realized that I had so much that I needed to work through myself. And as I'm working through those things myself, then just the resources were so limited. So many people in helping professions are kind of bypassing their own healing work by trying to help and heal others, which I understand that, but it ends up creating more pain because they're working out of pain rather than out of their own healing. So it's just kind of my story. As my story has evolved, my work has evolved. And I've moved from, and I do still see teenagers some, but mostly I work now with women who have experienced betrayal, because as I continue to grow and change and just move along in my journey, I experienced betrayal in my marriage. And the betrayal really is so much bigger than that. I don't know if you want to get into that conversation right now, but it's, betrayal starts when we don't have our basic needs met and we need them met. And so anyway, that's kind of, it's and not a linear journey for sure for me. It's been something that's evolved over time. And my heart is really in this work because I'm so passionate about real, true, honest, genuine support, care, and healing for women that's based in real, true growth and not in like covering up pain or avoiding pain that so many of us get trapped into.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that story with us. And, I love what you say because it's true that many, many people who end up in the helping professions actually never do their own healing. And as you said, then work from a place of trauma and pain rather than the healing and helping other people that way. So, what an important insight. And I'm so glad that you found that path and also did your own healing already. Wonderful. And yeah, so let's talk a little bit about maybe what betrayal is, because there are obviously, as we talk about that, maybe different kinds of betrayal. Someone tells you a little white lie, and then there's really big betrayals that happen in life. So, what kind of betrayal do you work with in your practice?
So mostly I work with women who have long-term marriages who have ended. So I was married for 19 years and I was with him from high school, like starting my senior year in high school, we started dating and we were together all the way through until our marriage ended when I was 41. And, looking back, the betrayal started, which is basically just disloyalty and it's breaking trust. It's destroying someone else's trust. It's looking out for your own self and your own needs over somebody else that you choose to have in your life and love. So my story is that my ex-husband came out as gay when we were 41 after 19 years of marriage. And, that was hard and it was heartbreaking. And that's a whole podcast in and of itself, just that. But there was trouble from the very beginning, red flags from the very beginning that I ignored. And basically from my own trauma, my own conditioning, I didn't recognize the signs. But this is the women that I end up attracting, not necessarily women whose partner has come out, but women who have been in long-term marriages, who've given their whole lives basically in service to their husbands and to their children and to their families. And it ends up kind of blowing up in their face. And betrayal is almost always the reason it's ended. Either they found out that their husband has been unfaithful through the whole marriage, or towards the end of their marriage, there's just a season of unfaithfulness. Either way, the women are now realizing that they have had a whole lifetime of not just their husband not really choosing them, but them not choosing themselves. Like self-betrayal is just as prominent as the betrayal of their partner. And that's really hard to grapple with. And it's really hard to forgive yourself for. So that's, unintentionally, I think that's just who I attract and draw because that's my story. And, we all tend to, when we relate to somebody, we want to work with them.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I imagine that there's a whole host of emotions that play into situations like betrayal that also we have to heal through and address at some point to really move through the betrayal itself. And how do you see that happening with the women that you work with? How do they show up in these relationships where betrayal happens, and how does it affect them mentally and emotionally? What happens? I mean, you say that there's also some sort of self-betrayal, maybe some guilt or shame that happens. How do you see that showing up?
Yeah, so typically we show up, culturally, especially in the South and America, we are taught that it's better to give than to receive. We're taught that being available to our husbands and meeting their needs is the greatest thing we could ever want and achieve and hope to aspire to, right? So if our husband is happy, then our life is happy. Then we've accomplish the ultimate goal. So the way we try to do that is by not having needs, by trying to be very present with what they need and overgive and over provide. And then we don't even ask for what we want or what we need. And a lot of times, honestly, most of us don't even know. Like for me, I didn't know. I didn't even know that I had needs that weren't being met. I didn't know that he should be meeting my needs as much as I was meeting his. That was a totally foreign concept to me. And I thought, anybody who's mentioned something like that, I was like, that's really selfish. No, I can't do that. So this is a way that we self-protect, right? By being a pleaser. Like you've probably heard the term a people pleaser. And I hate that term. I don't like it. I mean, I definitely fit the definition of it, but I didn't want to admit that. On one hand, I consider myself a strong, independent woman, and I was vocationally. But when it came to my relationship, I was very silent and quiet and just put my head down and worked hard and made sure that he was comfortable, because I thought that's what a good wife does. So most women that I encounter who've been in these long-term marriages with somebody who's never really shown up for them, who's never really seen them, don't know how to show up in a way that they can be seen. They're uncomfortable being seen. They hide behind what they can do and what they can give.
Wow. Yeah. As you're talking about that, I'm also thinking, as a mom, you probably also put the needs of your children in front of your own needs as well at times, and those of your husband or partner. So I see how that can really take sort of a very quick spiral into just not even knowing anymore what it is that you need and how you should show up for yourself.
Absolutely. Like that's what society reinforces, right? Is a good mom is somebody who's always present for their kids and makes sure all their needs are met. Or a good wife is somebody who's always present for her husband and makes sure all of his needs are met. We don't even really hear about you knowing what your needs are and showing up with them. That's not something we even hear about.
So how does that change then after you experience betrayal? You're left sort of at this waypoint with choices that you can now make for yourself and deciding for yourself what's important. But that can also be very scary if you have not made those choices for yourself before. So where can you start when you are in that situation?
Yeah, I think this is why it's so incredibly devastating when you find out that your partner has not honored you and been faithful to you, because you have poured absolutely everything you have into being sure that the family unit, that they are happy and successful and connected to you. So this is why it is so earth-shattering, because not only have they, breaking trust, everyone knows is a big deal, but when you have poured all of your adult life into somebody and then they don't reciprocate that care and love and trust, then it is absolutely earth-shattering. And even more so because you don't know. Like for me, I had no idea how to move forward. I was frozen because I didn't know what it meant to look at myself, to take care of myself, to know what I need and to ask for it. I was like a baby when it came to, like, I really honestly had no idea. So, the women who come into my group, the women who come into my sessions, first of all, I just validate that pain and validate that incredibly crippling, overwhelming fear of like my life is over. I have no purpose. I have no meaning, because we've spent our whole life. Our purpose was our family. And when the family is taken away, then we feel like we're nothing. Right. So it starts with really, really basic, like, hey, what is your favorite color? What is your favorite scent? What is your favorite? How do you like your eggs? Like, a lot of women don't even know these really simple, basic, and it sounds so simple, but it starts to give, just thinking about these really basic things starts to give us agency over ourselves, over our thoughts, over our needs, over our wants. And we start to slowly empower ourselves. Like I said, starting with these really simple, basic questions, and then they get bigger and bigger as we grow more into who we are and understanding who we are, and understanding that it's actually the opposite of selfish to know who you are and to show up in the world as somebody who's confident in what you have and what you need and what you want allows you to really see other people and meet their needs in a really balanced way that's not selfish at all.
Yeah. And it does really sound like you're a baby taking the first steps again and learning how to
Yeah.
walk in a sense. And can
Hmm.
that be overwhelming to have, all of these choices and having to make decisions at that time, also a time that's already emotionally very difficult? Can that be overwhelming to women as well?
Absolutely. Really overwhelming because remember, like we only previously had a sense of self based on how other people feel. So if my kids are happy and my husband happy, then that means I'm happy. Like that was just the way it is. Right. And now to have to think, wait, I have to decide if I'm happy. What does that mean? What does it mean? I can't be happy unless somebody else is happy. So like, yeah, it's very overwhelming. And that's why I make it really simple. I start off with really basic, simple questions and just allowing women to be present in right now. Hey, right now, this hour, what brings you peace? Is it a bubble bath? Is it taking a walk? Is it sipping some hot tea? Is it talking to a girlfriend? Is it having a glass of wine? Is it, having a good laugh, watching a funny YouTube video? Like what will bring you joy and peace right now in this moment? So it's really teaching women how to be present with right now. And initially a lot of guilt and shame comes up, like I'm not allowed to be happy is the kind of the first initial thing that comes up. So we break that down and talk about where that comes from. And I do a lot of work in helping women understand, like, again, whenever you don't show up in a relationship, you're actually not bringing yourself to the relationship. You're bringing this facade, you're bringing this puppet, and that's not the real you. And that's actually manipulative. Like we never want to think of it as manipulative, but it actually is because we're not being real. And we don't give anyone an opportunity to actually see us and know us. And that's sort of our side of the street. Of course, it's never our fault if somebody cheats or if somebody betrays us, but that's the part of our side that we have to clean up and that we have to heal so that if we want to have a healthy relationship, then we have to be able to be vulnerable enough to show up as the real us and know who that is. So that's the work that I do. A lot of coaches, therapists work on relationship, and I think that's a very valuable, valid space to be in. But my work is more about you're not ready for a relationship. Let's find you. Let's heal you and get to know you. And then if you want to, find another relationship, that's great. But there's definitely a step before that that we need to address.
Yeah, it sounds like there's also some skills that might be of use to learn and uncover before you move on into another relationship if you are healing
Mm-hmm.
from betrayal. And some things that are coming up to me are, learning how to set boundaries, learning how to take care of yourself, learning how to maybe even connect with your intuition and listen to what's
Mm-hmm.
going on within yourself. Is there any other skills that you would say that women should definitely learn or even uncover before they move on into a new relationship?
Yeah, definitely. Knowing what you need and knowing how to express what you need, which means we have to be present enough with ourselves. Like as women, we tend to get in our head and future plan and future think. Like what we want is this picture. We want this husband who's doting on us and loving on us, and we're planning vacations. Like we put this picture in our head, but are you actually living that in your body? So it's like the first step is connecting. What trauma does is it disconnects our head and our body. So a lot of us, most of us didn't have perfect childhoods. Bad things happen. And when bad things happen growing up, then we disconnect our mind and our body. So rewiring your mind and your body so you know what you feel and you feel what you know. When you can get really present with those two things, then you can show up in a relationship and express what you want and express what you need and not feel guilty about that, not feel shame about that, not try to hide that, not minimize that, but really, truly, powerfully. And a good, healthy, solid masculine man, if it's a straight woman wanting a straight man, a good, solid, healthy, masculine man appreciates that and wants to really see, that he feels, okay, she trusts me with her heart. That's bonding. So it takes a while if you've been hurt, especially if you've been hurt before this betrayal and then you experience this betrayal on top of it. We tend to want to retreat and go into self protection and not expose our heart, which is totally understandable. But when we do that, when we show up in those self protective ways, then we only attract people who are also self protecting. And it creates an imbalanced connection that always leads to more pain.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. And when you started working with women on healing from betrayal and recovering sort of the pieces of themselves and putting their lives back together, what is some of the things that you observe where women might be taking some of the steps in the wrong direction when they're trying to recover? Are there any sort of do's and don'ts that we can maybe leave listeners with when it comes to healing through betrayal or recovering from betrayal?
Absolutely. So a lot of women focus on, oh, my ex-husband always left his dishes all over the house and that drives me crazy. And I'm going to find a man who cleans up after himself. Or they focus on like, my ex-husband, only wore these kinds of clothes and I'm sick of these, I don't like the more casual. I want a man who wears suits every day. So I'm going to so we find these materialistic things and we think that these surface level things, if we change that is the reason we were unhappy. But what we don't address when we are self-protective, meaning when we don't feel comfortable showing up vulnerably to a relationship, then we're going to find another person who's also self-protective. So instead of looking for all the surface level things that you want to change. And that's totally fine. Like my ex-husband was a teacher and I was like, I will never date a teacher again. I don't want anything to do with a teacher. So it's fine to have those like surface level things, but me finding another partner who's not a teacher is not what's going to satisfy. Like I had to do some internal work for myself and really get to know who I am and get to a place where I didn't feel the pain of the betrayal any longer. Because as long as you're actively in pain, then there's no way you can be healthy enough to find another partner who is a really good fit for you for all the right reasons. If you're still actively in pain, then you're trying to soothe the pain with somebody else, which is always going to backfire, always. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. And that actually kind of goes with what I was going to ask you as I'm listening to you. When we think we have healed from betrayal and we move on, for example, into a new relationship, are there sometimes patterns or things that come up that kind of are a bit of a flag that says, hey, you might have not really properly healed from that betrayal yet, or you may not have fully recovered from that yet? Is there anything that we should look out for when we come into new relationships?
Yeah. I mean, of course, we're going to feel a little wobbly, especially the first relationship after. And we're going to wonder, like, with some of the women that I work with, in fact, we meet once a week, and what they come to group with is like, okay, so I'm dating this guy. Is this a red flag? Is this a red flag? I don't know about, because we're unsure. We don't have a grid for what healthy is, right? So I would say for sure, get yourself in a healthy group or with a good therapist or somebody that you can trust to ask questions and kind of feel it out and understand. Like, don't go in blind. Don't go in by yourself. Don't go in like, I got this. I'm not going to worry about it. Absolutely, you need to worry about it, but this is your life, right? And there's no way we're going to know initially. We can learn to trust our instincts, but we need somebody to help us create that grid of what healthy looks like when we've never seen it before, when we've never experienced it before. So that's one thing. And another thing is, like, let's say he's wanting to plan a date and he's like, what kind of food do you like? And if you're saying, oh, whatever you like, whatever you want, like if you are not comfortable sharing your opinion, then you're still hiding. Then you're still not comfortable being yourself. Then you still don't know yourself. You're not comfortable being vulnerable and you still have some work to do. Like, you should be able to say, it's normal and healthy to say, oh, I really love Mexican and Italian. It'd be awesome if you could find one of those things, right? Like, we need to be able to express what we like. Or if he I don't know, if he rubs your arm, it's okay if you say, oh, I don't really like being rubbed on my arm. You can rub my leg or you can rub my shoulder. But, like being able to express the way you like to be touched, the way you like to be treated. And if you're not comfortable with these little things, then this over time is what adds up to you continuing to hide within a relationship and not be vulnerable. So there's not a real genuine connection. And he can energetically feel that. And again, his acting out is not our fault, but over time, the lack of connection tends to break down, and it looks differently in different relationships, but it will break down.
Yeah. So it sounds like we also need to be mindful of our self-confidence and our trust in ourselves as we're moving forward, because there might be some times where we're just not sure that things are good and they could be, or that things are bad and we're kind of re-experiencing what we've gone through before. So yeah, those are some really great points. Now, where can women start if they have experienced betrayal, maybe recently or in the past, and they want to start healing and want to take some steps towards recovery? What are some of the first things that they should be doing or could be doing?
I think, first of all, just get really quiet with yourself and get comfortable being alone and being quiet with yourself. So if you are trying to distract yourself by rebounding with other guys or going out with girlfriends all the time or staying really busy at work or immersing yourself in your kids' life and getting over involved and making, getting all up involved in their life and their school and the PTA, like there's so many things we can busy ourselves with. And none of those things in and of themselves are bad, but if you're doing them to escape yourself, then you're just perpetuating pain and suffering. You're just prolonging your pain and suffering. You're hiding from doing the real work. So, what I would say initially is create space for yourself to just be, to fall apart if you need to fall apart, to cry if you need to cry, to just be present with yourself and feel your feelings. And I think that's really hard for a lot of women because we don't even know what our feelings are. We're so used to just focusing on other people. We don't know how to focus on ourselves. So, like I said, get involved in a support group, go to see a therapist. It's so important for us to do the work of getting to know ourselves and feeling our true, genuine, real feelings so that we can it's like the phoenix rising from the ashes, right? Once you do that healing work, there's just a solidness that comes and a groundedness that comes, and ask yourself the simple questions. What would bring me joy right now? Like, do I want a bubble bath? Do I want to go for a run? Do I want to meet a friend for a glass of wine? Do I want, have a list of options available to yourself and really pick one? Think about those things. Women especially those who have been in really long-term marriages, are so worn out and they don't typically know how to do these really basic, simple self-care things. So it's so important to reconnect to that, to begin to grow and develop and heal into who you are.
Yeah, those are some great steps. And thank you so much for sharing those. And we'll actually take this one step further. And I was wondering if you want to describe some of your programs and services that you offer so that listeners can get a feel of how they could connect with you or how they could work with you if they want to include you in their own healing journey.
Sure. So I have really three main options. So the first one is I have a membership, which is for a woman who has done some healing work on her own. She's a little bit further down the road. She still needs to finalize understanding who she is, recovering from her pain, but she's not at the beginning stages. So the membership, it's only $37 a month, and you have access to all of my digital content, which includes all my masterclasses, journal prompts, guided meditations, emotional regulation tools. I've got it all available for you. And then we meet once a month in a group coaching container where I kind of can answer questions, do some hot seat coaching, and guide you along. So that's more of a self-guided. Like I said, the woman who is on her journey, she's a little further down the road, but she knows she still needs support and help, then that's a great option for her. I have a 90-day transformation journey, which is a little more intense. It's, like I said, 90 days. So we meet for 12 weeks, once a week. And we also do 2 one-on-one sessions where I meet with you individually. And then you also have access to the digital content. So this is for somebody who's like, I know I need help. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm in so much pain and I don't know how to get out. I don't know how to help myself. I don't know where to start. I'm overwhelmed. Then this 90-day program is perfect for you because you have my attention for 12 weeks and you have access to a lot of support and resources. We have a Slack channel as well that all the women in the 90-day program are in. So they're supporting each other, helping each other, encouraging each other. I'm in there answering questions, and also once or twice a week, I'm in there like cheering them on and offering additional teachings and support based on I've identified 6 phases that we need to work through. So we spend 2 weeks on each of those phases. So by the end of the 90 days, she understands her grief. She understands how she's hiding. She understands what she needs to do. She's done the heavy lifting of the healing work. And then she is then ready to continue on her path. And you have lifetime access to the digital content, which is basically the membership. So you have lifetime access to the membership where you can continue to do your healing work as you move forward. So those are the 2 major programs that I offer. I also offer like one-on-one sessions. I sell them in bundles of 5. So if you're in that and you're like, I know I still need more, then you just purchase the additional, the one-on-one sessions on top of the group sessions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that sounds like you've created a wonderful community and women are supporting each other in there as well. So sounds like a great way.
Yeah, I'm really proud of it. And it's called The Courageous Woman because it takes so much courage to really get to know yourself, to step into this healing, to stop hiding, to come alive in who you're created and meant to be. So I call it The Courageous Woman because, like I said, it just takes so much courage to do that. And so many people don't do it. So I'm really proud of the women who come into this container and do this work, really, really proud of them and work hard to support them in every way that I can and through everything that I've learned. I'm a licensed therapist. I'm certified in trauma model therapy. Plus, I've just had my own shit that I've worked through. So with all of that combined, then I just pour everything that I have so that these women can heal and grow and become the woman they're created to be.
Yeah, and very often our own lived experience can give so much to others when you have gone through things and you understand, some of the pitfalls, the setbacks, the challenges that you'll face. So yeah, wonderful. And thank you so much for sharing all that with the community. It sounds like a wonderful place to heal and grow. And we will be linking to all of Janice's offerings in the show notes as well. So be sure to check there on how you can get in touch with her, how you can join her fantastic community, and how you can work with her on your own healing journey if this episode aligned with you. Well, this has been another incredible episode, and I really hope our listeners have connected with and taken something away from our journey into recovering your self-worth after betrayal. It has been wonderful chatting with you on the podcast today, Janice. Thank you so much for your wisdom and time today.
Thank you. I really appreciate being here. I love your soothing voice. It's very comforting. And I know it's probably a lot of women come back to listen just to your amazing soothing voice. I really appreciate the opportunity to share my work. And like I said, I'm so passionate about it.
Oh, thank you so much, Janice. I really appreciate that. And I do hope that we brought a lot of good information today to women who are, have experienced or are experiencing betrayal and want to heal. And then they can work with you on moving forward. So yeah, thank you so very much and take care, Janice.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to listen in. If you enjoy the Journey podcast, please support us by subscribing, sharing on social media, and leaving us a review. We appreciate you. And you can find more of The Journey on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and our website, thejourney.com. Sending you love and courage, and see you next time.